Welcome to today's episode, my friends, where we are breaking down how you can iterate for the best team for yourself. That's right. Today's guide is all about helpful tips and tricks for you to help build the best team possible for the Big Bao Brawl. And we're going to break it all down for you in today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. On top of that, if you got a question, if you got a comment, let me know because I love to hear from you as always and would love to see you in our amazing community and Discord server, my friends. Now, so far we have done 2 episodes. I'll have those available to you down below in terms of our timestamps. We got up to about the top 5% here. With this particular team here, we've got that guide and episode available along with another one. However, like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, this one is really about you. We're going to walk through some key tips and tricks and ways to help you build out your best team possible. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, down below, you can find all those timestamps for what you're looking for here today in the description. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, a couple things that you can think about. A few of those that I've done is first, when we first ran kind of our electric type here, there's a couple things that you can do. You can take some of your most powerful cookies and kind of iterate around those. That's sort of what I did here, where electric has been one of the best teams for me specifically. A lot of that came out of the Sublime Cake Tower running, and just because I got a lot of great upgrades in these particular cookies from the biscuits. Now, then what you can do is once you kind of get there, then you can iterate off your treasures. So because of the fact that we do get the level 80s plus the level 80 for our skill set and level 12 for our treasures, it makes it fairly easy to kind of balance across those particular things when it comes to just our cookies. Now, the big piece here, though, to remember is that we're not necessarily going to get those 5 stars. So it will make a difference in terms of the level of your cookie, the biscuit upgrades, and all those things as well. However, what you want to first and foremost do is isolate your team. So let's give you a different take and idea on how we did that. So when we talked about our very first episode, we thought maybe there was a poison grouping because that's generally been fairly successful in these kinds of events. So that is where we landed here. Now, we landed on this team. However, as I mentioned in that video, it wasn't necessarily in particular here Dark Choco that did the best. So one of the ways that I recommend doing that is you find kind of your base components of a team. Let's call it these 4. You can isolate one cookie just like Dark Choco and start to go through each one. And the way that we did that is we started here. We went with Rebel, we went with Black Raisin, we went with Eclair, and we went with Milky Way. And I'm going to show you exactly how that works. So a couple things here. First and foremost, we'll run with Dark Choco here. We're going to leave the treasures as is. We're going to leave everything else as is. Now, here is one of the key tricks. However, it can be misleading. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So this is what you're going to do. Once you get all your base stats similar, you got everything the same, you can just go for a run just like this. And at the end of that run, you're going to come to the exact output that you're going to want to use in terms of balancing. Now, ideally, what's going to happen is as you change up some of these cookies, as you change up some of your style, what you're starting to do here is create that baseline. This baseline will help you build off and adjust for each particular cookie that maybe you want to change out, maybe you want to swap out in terms of what that's going to look like. Now, by not taking advantage of the random pieces there, we can isolate what exactly this damage would look like over the 1 minute. So here is a key piece to you right about 3, 2, 1 now. All right, so 1.054. Interestingly enough, that is pretty much very close to what I did on my other runs. So that again gives you your baseline. Now, pretty cool. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna then go ahead and flip in Rebel Cookie. So now when you go to Rebel Cookie here, we're gonna go ahead and move this one out. We're gonna go find Rebel. Rebel should be here somewhere. There we go. All right. Now, the other nice thing here about each of these cookies, Matcha Cookie for me is only not even 1 star, I believe. We do have a lot of the mileage gear that we can use to collect a lot of these cookies if you're looking for something in particular. So let's see what we can get with Rebel Cookie here. Here we go. Look at that. Up to 9 defense down. All right, my friends. Don't forget, we got a swag and merch store. All right, that one's 950k this time. So interestingly enough, it was less than what it was before. Now, the one thing that I did do differently last time was this. I did not have the pin cushion there. So if we don't have the pin cushion, we actually go cooldown. That cooldown made a huge difference. So I want to call those things out and why those tweaks and those pieces can and do matter as one example. Now, ideally, you're going to want to run it 3 times. We're going to go ahead and use one more here because I did talk about this one. Let's go ahead and use Black Raisin. So Black Raisin, another reason why we can use this one here is the skill set can make a difference for the amplifying the damage and those kinds of things. So let's go ahead and run with this third one. And we're going to show one more team, our first team. We'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about some of the other stuff there that you can do as well. All right, here we go. Now, what we were going after with this one was additional amplified debuffs. So what we're doing is making all these things even better. That is the idea with Black Raisin. All right, here we go, here we go. So very close, 979. Now, in the other runs, this one did beat Dark Choco, so I like to call that out. So now that we've done 3, ideally what happens is you can then see they're very close to a certain extent. You can then start to iterate off the one team that was the best team for you. Now, that also can give you a false sense of hope. Not really hope, but strategy. And why do we say that? Because they're random effects. So one of the reasons and things that you do need to pay attention to is this. But before we go through that, I do want to show you one other thing. We're going to go with this team here, which was my very first electric team. And you'll also begin to understand why I said what I did at the beginning of the today's video, and also why I did run this one as one of my very first free-to-play player top 10% runs. Here we go. Look at that, my friends. There, look at that. So much damage in there. So much damage. And that, my friends, is without any of the boosts. We were right around that 1.8. Now, one of the things that I did with this team to make this one better was I did switch out robes. So I want to show that as a different change that I made from the original team. So now going back to our original team here, a couple of things that you can then do is, like I said, tweak the treasures, figure out which ones are going to work once you've isolated kind of your best team. That could be a rotation of your cookies. The next thing that you can do as well, just like me, is then you can also work on cookies. Oop, I didn't mean to do that with matcha. I was only picking on matcha because matcha is a cookie that we could then upgrade. So once you've then upgraded that cookie, that can make a big difference in the damage for you as well. And then additionally, my friends, then you can take a look at all your gear. You can start to tweak all your substats. You can tweak all your biscuits. Those pieces are going to get you honed in exactly where you need to be for success with your particular cookies. Or just like me, as I mentioned in the video, I took this biscuit here from my Frost Queen. Definitely got to put it back on because that's what we use a lot of times in some of the PvP and PvE stuff more than matcha. So make sure that you do things like that as well. Those, my friends, are all the key strategies in terms of isolating on your team. Now, going back to the effects, a couple things that we need to pay attention to here and where I was going that can give you a false kind of strategy between something like this and this is that we would not want to get a percent-based period damage. The period damage, even though we do have shock and electrify and all that stuff, their zap, it's not going to be as beneficial to this particular team as it would be this one. So the really kind of last key iteration, in my opinion, is really going to be adding in these random effects, honing in on these random effects to really making a huge difference on what's going to work. Like damage to bosses is going to be pretty consistent. One of the key things that I said here for this team is, since we got crit way up, you don't need additional crit if you go crit damage and attack. That is really going to boost this one, my friends. So those are kind of all the different styles and tricks that you can think about to kind of maximize your team. So first, it's isolating the type of team that you want to figure out and run with. We talked about having more of our best damage dealers in terms of some of the stuff, then going against different strategies like poison here. Then we talked about iterations on the team, iterations on your treasures, and additionally key ways to improve your cookies and your biscuits, toppings, all those things. And then lastly, we came back to the final strategy here, the random effects. With that, my friends, that is going to be today's guide for you. Thank you for tuning in here. If you still got a question, if you got a comment, let me know. I know we covered a lot of things here, but this was really to make the right tweaks and help you understand how you can iterate and make your best team here for Big Bao Brawl. With that, my friends, I also just want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in today. I appreciate your support. Thank you for the likes and the subs as we continue to grow this amazing community here, as always. And with that, thank you to all of our members. We do have memberships available to you. On top of that, we have affiliate links and a swag and merch store. With that, also don't forget our socials. At me, chat me, stay connected. I love hearing from you. I love seeing you, everyone in the Discord server, my friends. And on top of that, we might share some of your stuff here on the channel. With that, get out there. Best of luck building you and your team here for Big Bao Brawl. I wish you the best as you try and get up to the top 10% plus, just like me as the #1 free-to-play player, my friends. With that, we'll see you again soon. Keep on running.